Jeff again here on the Working with the French, and the chapter right now is about the importance of wine. Yes, the importance of wine. Um, I came to France over 3 decades ago, having not come from a. I came from a culture that had a beer kegging culture, but I was not a drinker. Okay, I'm not. My mom was alcoholic, so I just wasn't into it. And I did have a shot of vodka at the age of 14. I said, that's all I need. Just one time is enough. Um, and I didn't want myself to kind of just lose consciousness over things because of alcohol. Just I didn't want to go there. And I'm trying to think if I ever had any other alcohol before age 23. Did I have any before? I'm trying to think. I can't think if I had it other than that shot of vodka. Um, Maybe one other time, but I'm trying to think of it. That's how hard it is to remember because it just wasn't. Um, and but the American culture does have a kegging culture, and if you want to, and a drinking culture, but binging, and I recognize that, and go watch the Bing Cosby video on him doing the stand up comedy stuff on getting drunk over the weekend and coming back to work after the weekend and stuff with a hangover. That's a great thing because it really does kind of explain um, parts of American culture there. But I came to France not having that, not having actually participated in that, just not at all. Um, and during the first summer, I was in a summer camp and met a lot of families. I was a youth counselor in summer camp, met a lot of families, and at the end, I went and visited a lot of them. My bicycle, I took the bicycle and went on a big bike trip, and before I went to my next job, and went to a family of one of the other youth counselors, and the parents were basically wine makers, grape growers. I can't remember what they call this thing in French, English. I know what to call it in French, but I don't know what the word in English. Sorry, I didn't learn this terminology. There's these words in English, um, but they grow the grapes. They have vineyards and they grow the grapes and then they make wine. And I made this. I made it. I refused to drink their wine, and that was a bad thing to do. I was only 23. I didn't understand. I didn't understand the ways to do it. So I'm going to come to you and tell you how to do it when you're doing this, okay? Um, I've learned since one of the things, the tricks that I do. And yeah, I do drink. I got some wine here. I had some wine for dinner tonight. So I've learned to kind of drink a minimum and to do it in a way that's social. And the French learned to drink socially. You never drink. See, the problem with the difference is Americans will sit there and drink. We'll gulp it down and have we'll gulp it down and we'll see how much we can put down. The French won't do that. The French won't do that. Okay, they're not that way. In fact, like at McDonald's, you can buy a beer, but you cannot buy a beer at McDonald's without food. You gotta buy food with. You gotta buy it with a meal. Yeah, they won't sell a beer off thing. They won't do it. And like when you go to a bar, they'll always give you peanuts or something, or pretzels or something. Always give something to eat with it because it's part of the culture thing. You don't drink it just to drink it. You drink it to it's part of the whole aperitif kind of thing. Before it's not just the drink part, okay? It's the eating with the drinking. So it's not there. That's important to understand with this, which I didn't understand at the beginning, and I've picked it up since. And I do remember during my first year in France, so I refused that the first summer. Then when I got to the first year in France, I was the director of the high school I was in. He was a former English teacher, so he helped me. He really helped me take me on, and one of the teachers, and he'd take him out for drinks all the time. Just if he knew the local bars knew him pretty well, and he'd go over and he'd want me, and I kind of times refused, and I was kind of hesitating because I wasn't a drinker, right? Um, and he kind of joked when I'd take other things, and it's kind of joking. I finally caught on I need to do this because he's the director of like the high school, and I need him to give me some recommendations at the end of the year. And he would help me actually with the translations of the things I was doing, my diplomas and stuff. He would help me with that stuff, and he would certify it and all that and check it and that thing. Um, and that that year was a kind of a changing point in my understanding about French and drinking. Is that we go to bars and stuff with his buddies and stuff. Well, actually, the other directors in the high school and stuff, and they go up for we'll go drink, and he'd bring me along and stuff. And I just realized I had to do this. I had to do it, and I had to give up some of my understanding or what I thought was American culture. And I'm not going to get into the prohibition part of the whole American culture and all that in the background of that. The French don't have that. They don't have it. They don't have that hang up. I'm calling it a hang up here because this can be a hang up for Americans, but for the French, it's accepted part of culture, and too much. You should do it. And and over the years, I've really learned a few things. And what I'll say is that when you're doing like all deals, sales deals are signed over a dinner with wine. That's just how it is. It doesn't signed by coming in just kind of, hey, sign it and do it. It's not done that way. Okay. Um, it's it needs to be It needs to happen over kind of the the deal close needs to happen over a meal. And it's got to have that red wine. Okay. Um, and but the problem is, what if you don't drink? And what if you're not against drinking? And I know a few French people that don't drink, and they struggle. They struggle with this, and they found kind of other tips to get around it. And I think the ones I'm going to talk about are ones that when I talk to them, they say that this is how they do it too to get around it. So, which they found a way to get around it in this way. What I tell people to do is when you go to meal is to accept the wine, but fake drinking it. So what you do is you bring the if it's full, you bring it up and you just touch your lip to just like that, and give an impression you're drinking it. Just give the impression. You got to fake it, okay? Yeah, it's lying, but this is going to get you the deal. This is going to get you the thing, and they're going to do it, okay? Fake drink it. The fluid doesn't go down, okay? So they don't fill it up anymore. Because if you drink the stuff, they'll fill it up, okay? The Russians do the same thing. They'll keep don't you know if you drink vodka, they're going to fill up the vodka stuff. They'll keep filling it up. So don't drink it. Then it won't go down. so so, but the French are if you do this, you're going to be able to show that you're participating in the cultural activity, even though that you are not um, doing it. And if you've got a hang up, I'm going to say if you got a hang up of in a positive way. If you don't want to, are really not in drinking it, so you need to change your attitude. You need to change something because you won't survive. Okay, I'm telling you, you won't survive long term if you don't do these things. You're going to constantly be going against the culture, and it's going to play against you later on. Okay, it will play against you. So yeah, you gotta learn how to do this. Um, uh, it's not worth holding on to this. Well, I have this. Again, even people come from North American cultures for religious reasons or for for parent or all drinking all that kind of stuff, and didn't want to participate in the binge culture and all that kind of stuff. Deal with your hang up, okay? Just deal with it. Um, and because you're not gonna be able to integrate, and you got to integrate in France. If you're gonna be in France, you got to show that you're part of the culture. You got to do this, okay? Yeah, I got to buy some bottles of wine. Yes, you're going to have to accept buying bottles of wine. You have to invite people over. Yes, you got to do that. Um, doesn't mean you need to drink it, right? You can like put a little bit in your cup. You can throw it away afterwards. Throw it in the sink. It doesn't matter. But at least you showed that you cared. At least you shared to care about their culture. Because if you don't care about their culture, they're not going to be part of it. So and they're expecting you, especially if you're coming from other cultures, to come and integrate. They're expecting you kind of fit into their culture, called acculturation, and this is what you got to do. Um, it's hard to accept that. It's hard to deal with that, um, but that's the way it works. Um, and I've finally understood this. It took me. Luckily, it didn't take me too long to figure it out. And I've been able to, I think, do pretty well with that, and do the minimum. And I've actually gotten to the point where I can drink things and it doesn't bother me anymore. Um, and I just kind of, it doesn't bother me. So compared to when I first came, because just I had the reasons for it. But of course, after 30 years, that's kind of the stuff too. But so there, so do you handle your religious background stuff or handle your cultural background stuff? And sometimes things are kind of hand in hand. It's also the same true of like people coming from cultures where you're not even allowed to drink. Um, like I'm trying to think of like um, for Islam and for the cultures, the Muslim cultures. That's a little more delicate, and that can actually be understood. So you're okay there. You're usually okay there for folks there from those countries because that's understood that there's a whole thing about drinking. So that can be accepted pretty well. In fact, that play against you if you actually drink. So I'm talking about the cultures that don't have that expectation, and so it's really hard for the French to understand that. Um, so the whole thing about wine is, use that tip. Try to use that tip. I know a few people that don't like to drink that do this too. They said that's their trick, uh, and uh, you know, do what you need to be accepted. And this is kind of difficult. This is worth doing a whole book on ethics. Um, I would like because this is an ethical thing, and ethical things are really hard to kind of break down and to handle because they're not ethical things are it's there's no right or wrong. It's just kind of all depends, right? And and in some cases you have to make decisions to if you're drinking if your view of alcohol is one that is incompatible with the French culture, that's really tough. Um, you have to decide where your stance is and choose your battles. And sometimes this one can lose you deals, and especially relationships because alcohol it's actually for it's French don't see alcohol as something you do by yourself drinking. Okay, they see it as a social thing. Kind of like drinking coffee too. I don't like coffee, but I drink coffee in France because it's a social thing to do. So I don't drink it by myself, but I'll go and do it in a social environment. So same thing with drinking alcohol. It's considered to be something that is social. So and allows that you want to drink, and so it's worth it to experiment in that, and test it out, and accept that glass of wine. Just keep the glass 3/4 full all the time. Just don't make it go down, and that will help you. Um, that will help you get relations. Yes, it's a buddy system. Yes, it's a behind the scenes kind of stuff. A lot of this happens this way, and you got to play into that. And I've taken classes. I've taken classes on bribery and the whole thing of bribery and stuff and ethics of that. And that's really tough because in these situations, sometimes, yeah, you gotta. It fits into that kind of class where do you get bribes at the border, across the border, with certain things and all that stuff. And I've been in that situation too, and kind of struggle with how to deal with it. Um, and and in these kind of things, it's worth just having the wine. It's worth it. And again, not drinking it. You're faking, but you're faking drinking. So you got to deal with the faking drinking part as an ethical situation because it gives the impression that you're actually participating in it, but you're not doing it, but you're doing it. So you got to deal with that. It's an ethical thing, and so that's what I encourage you to go ahead and think about. Find ways to deal with, and find how you can integrate. And you will be really respected if you will be. I mean, I think I've gotten a lot of respect. The fact that I know things about French wines and stuff because I went to with my family. We went even for my kids. We go visit wine country and go in and taste the wines and stuff, just to taste them stuff, and to learn about them, so I can talk about them. Because then you can impress people about what you know about their culture, right? Yeah, this goes a long ways. I mean, you can, if I can really now, uh, when I can talk about wine, the things I can't talk about, the ones I don't know, but the things I can, I use it every time possible because that just helps build relationships, build rapport. And French are into relationships. So it's not about just because you're there because you get money or you can buy something and stuff. That's not what it's about the majority of the time. It's about the relational aspects of it. And the wine is part of that thing. And beer can kind of play into that too. The, the beer is going to be for different kinds of things. Okay, but like you're not gonna drink wine with with a Schukrut kind of sauerkraut meal from Eastern France and Strasbourg. You're gonna drink a beer with that one. So find ways to deal with it. Find ways to get it with it. Um, and don't look at when I say deal with your hang up. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying you have to deal with your psychological block of being able to accept how you're going to adapt into the culture with this kind of factor. And it takes a long time. It takes a while to get over that and to deal with the ethics part of it. But then when you feel like you're integrated, you can joke around and stuff, and it totally works. And yeah, and I've had times where I just don't drink anymore. Hey, just keep it there, and because I don't want to get to beyond the point where I don't want to. And the French are really not into hangovers and stuff. Not. I have not seen. I've been at a lot of birthday parties when I was teaching at high schools and stuff, and when I was young, 23, and I came and I was a teacher for the high school. I said that first year, and I went out to a lot of birthday parties. I got invited. I was only a few years older than some of these folks, so I got a lot. And I never saw anybody getting. I mean, they'll never get to a serious hangover, throwing up state, vomiting state. Not that I've seen. Okay, now maybe I'm hanging around with the wrong crowd. Maybe there are that do, and okay, my son tells me, but there are some. But I mean, that seems to be more of an exception than the rule. But it's more of the French are actually taught to drink too. So this whole thing, I'll call this the education of drinking too. The French are taught to when they take their before dinner drink, it's the aperitif. They always you have a bunch of little things you got to eat. So it can be peanuts and pretzels and all that. As I said in the bar, but this happens too when you have a meal. There's always a moment of the before, during the drink, but it's not just a drink. It's the thing to go with eating it. And there's always this moment before the meal where you have that moment to socialize. It's all about socializing, and it's really important to understand this. And if you don't socialize, or if you don't give the opportunity to socialize, you're going to be seen as not someone fitting in. So find a way to fit in, and to accept that. And if during the time if they got some drinks and stuff, and they got some non-alcoholic stuff, take the non-alcoholic stuff. If they got non-alcoholic beer, take the non-alcoholic beer. Just take whatever, or take orange juice to get the orange juice, or take the whatever. But do it. Get in the habit of doing this, because it's gonna really help you be part of the culture, and to be accepted in the culture, and then to flourish in this. Um, uh, but if you don't take part in it, if you don't do it, and you're actually against all the time, then you will struggle your entire time, and it will be painful. So that's it for the drinking wine and socializing. I'm going to call this the social. I think that time the title of this chapter is going to be the socializing aspects of wine and stuff. So that's all I'll call the title maybe.